Your attention, please.
So a friend of mine, Mike, posted a link to an article on Games Radar about the change in Xbox policies regarding the always once a day check-in online and the used games thing. And I gotta say, my first impression of the person writing the article was that they were an idiot. Now, I'm sure I'm wrong, I'm sure it's unfair, I'm basing it off one thing only, but that was my first impression. So I want to go over some of the points that they brought up, why it's not a good thing that Microsoft decided to change their mind. And they start by saying, sure, you're getting all the stuff you wanted, terrible, but you're also going to be losing the things you didn't even know you could have had. That's an important point, because I'm going to come back to that a little bit later. So what's the first of the 6 things that they listed? Can't share library with 10 family members. Well, I'm not going to argue this point. I'll let them do it for you, because they say, sadly, this feature is being cut as well, but we actually don't understand why. Right. I don't understand why either. Thank you for making your own point void. Other than maybe because Microsoft are still being assholes and they're crying about it, and so they want to take away all the new cool stuff that they were going to do because you didn't like all the shit stuff that they're going to do. Next, there's no gifting purchased games online. And again, their words, again, we see no reason why this still couldn't work for digital titles. Right, so again, your point is invalid. The disc needs to be in the Xbox One even if you installed the game. Again, I'm not exactly sure why this couldn't be overcome also. I mean, if you have to maybe connect once to register the game, not once a day, just maybe once just to register the game, that might be a fair enough compromise, maybe. And that means that if someone else goes to install it, they got to connect to register the game. I mean, that's not an uncommon thing to register software on a PC, let's say, for example. That way, if you sell the game and someone else registers it, Microsoft can say, oh, well, it's not part of your live account anymore, so bye-bye, you don't get it anymore. But, luckily, Games Radar also willing to point out, it's a minor inconvenience, but still an inconvenience nevertheless. Yeah, well, it's a minor one. You know what? To trade off and get a whole bunch of things that someone does want, they might be willing to suffer a minor inconvenience that really shouldn't have to be an inconvenience in the first place. It makes cloud computing less attractive for developers. Granted, we were never really given any specifics as to how this will affect your games, aside from making them better. Okay, so thank you for pointing out that you don't know that this is going to make it less attractive, because you don't know how it's going to make anything better. But it does free up resources, which could be put in use improving some aspects of a game. Oh my goodness, how many qualifiers do you have in there? It could, some, maybe. Multiplayer games will undoubtedly still tap into Microsoft's cloud computing service, as will the online applications for Netflix or HBO Go, making for a smooth experience. So there's still benefits, are there? Well, then fantastic. I'm not really seeing the problem with this point so far. There's less potential for game prices to drop. Now, we can't say with certainty that Microsoft's license-based plans would have led to cheaper prices for games. Let me give you my prediction. Microsoft isn't going to make games cheaper for you out of the goodness of their hearts. There's nothing stopping from price drops today. Why should the fact that you don't get to trade your games now make it any different? You think just because they have the opportunity to make more money by limiting trading of games, they were going to put that value back to the consumers? I'm getting the impression, based on some of their moves, they're not going to be doing that. And you know what? I'm not going to bank on potential. Let's go back. you're also going to be losing things you didn't even know you could have had. Well, your points are based around things you didn't even know we were going to get. So, sorry, void it again as far as I'm concerned. The system now supports game rentals, used game sales, and doesn't require an online check. In other words, it's just like the Xbox 360, except with better graphics and a Kinect that's always staring at you. If that's what you were fighting for, then you won this battle. Actually, I think a lot of the people were fighting for support of game rentals, used game sales, and no online check. So, great things. No one was fighting for a Kinect that was staring at you all the time. So you know what? That's something that they didn't change, that we didn't want in the first place. And it's not like that was introduced because they got rid of all their DRM requirements. That was going to happen anyway. And are you telling me that better graphics was the only thing in terms of game improvements that the Xbox One was going to bring to the table? Are you telling me a single-player game can't benefit from the pure processing power that's going to be made available? It was only going to benefit by being allowed to not be a used game ever? This shows a mindset that the only thing these games technically were going to bring were better graphics. Not bigger, more diverse worlds, not more options in the gameplay itself. Well, better graphics. Thanks for the insight, Games Radar.